Chargers were 5-12, stunningly, for the expectations they had coming into the season. Really, this whole division the past 2 years is kind of just absolutely sucked compared to what you were hoping for. They're picking 5th overall in the draft this year. And, they went from 10-7 to 5-12. Brandon Staley was fired. Finally, it felt like for Chargers fans, a huge sigh of relief after a 63-21 loss to the Raiders in Week 14. I remember seeing updates on that game, just absolutely blown away by what was happening. And the defense finishes 24th in the league. They go ahead and bring in Jim Harbaugh. Justin Herbert also had a season-ending index finger fracture. They bring in Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman now as the new offensive coordinator to try and fix the problems that they had on that side of the ball. They have Austin Eckler as a potential free agent, Gerald Everett, Kenneth Murray, Alohi Gilman, to name a few. Probably looking to extend Rashawn Slater during the year, during the offseason. So where does that leave us with the Chargers? This team has gaping holes on defense. You go up and down it. Despite some star power name, there are a lot of issues on that side of the ball. They're probably going to need to make some moves at receiver if they let go of Mike Williams. As I said, Eckler's already probably on his way out the door too. So what's the first, your question was, what can Jim Harbaugh do to be competitive next year as he tries to turn it around with so many holes to fill? What would you address first?
For me, I think the best thing for the Chargers to do is to give up on being competitive next year. I know that's tough, but you look at the contracts they have and the situation they're in, and there's so much they need to do, right? They're projected $35 million over the cap. Now, you roll over some cap space, that's going to go down to more like 29 or 30, but they need to let Khalil Mack go. They need to let Joey Bosa go. They need to let Corey Lindsey go. I think he's probably going to retire after his
Lindsey
heart injury.
Restructured his contract.
Oh, they're keeping him?
Today. That happened today.
Oh, well, then he's recovering, I guess. I thought after that heart issue, it was unlikely he was ever going to play again.
No,
I really hope he comes back because he's big. They need to let, as you say, Mike Williams go. And that's just a lot that needs to be done. And, it's not like Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack have had a great year last year. It's not like Mike Williams had a great year last year, but there's a lot of guys they need to move off. And then, they've got big deals coming up, right? Rashawn Slater, Asante Samuel. Like, some of these players are going to need a lot of money. So if I'm the Chargers, my goal is to try and sign guys. You don't want to go out and do what you did with cornerback in the past I'm not even going to mention his name because Chargers fans, I think, don't want to hear it. You don't want to repeat that mistake with L'Jarius Sneed, right? Sign a guy who is elite somewhere else to some big money just to watch him suck with you.
The tough thing about the Chargers, though, is that when you have one of those guys like Justin Herbert, it hurts to just watch a year go by. It hurts. Right? Like, isn't that how you would feel?
So here's what you need to do. You need to say, Justin, we're bringing in a guy who can give you a run game. We're going to hope he doesn't Lamar Jackson ruin your passing ability. We're going to do our best to build a functional defense, and you're going to show us that you deserve the giant contract we gave you. So here's what we're going to do, right? We're going to sign some productive defensive players, right? We're going to bring in guys like Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith. Not the best players at their position, but guys who can play.
Danielle Hunter is right up there as one of the best guys at
He's
that
just
position.
not. He's not going to sign a top of the market contract. I get that he had a lot of sacks this year, but he did not have he had a good season, not a great season. Again, I'm not saying these guys are garbage, but we're not talking about bringing in like Brian Burns from Carolina, right?
Danielle Hunter's getting a big contract, Ziggy. Danielle Hunter's getting a big contract. But okay, no, I see what you're saying. With Harbaugh,
guys like Micah Hyde, like just bring in players who can play, add cheap, effective guys on the offense. Guys like Noah Fant, Tyler Boyd,
little money ball action.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying, and then invest in some big offensive player at the top of the draft, right? Hope maybe you can get Marvin Harrison Jr. Maybe you can get Brock Bowers. Like, there are a few players up there that I'd be interested in drafting.
I'm thinking. Where are they? They're 5th right now. I'm anticipating that they're going to take Malik Nabers.
That's another great pick, right? You can take whatever wide receiver you like. That's a fine pick. Brock Bowers is a fine pick. Like, there are a few good guys up there.
I know it's heavily contested amongst Chargers fans right now. They do not want Bowers at 5. I know that Bowers is an unbelievable talent coming out the position, but again, tight end is not a premium position in the league. We've seen what can happen when teams take a tight end very high in the draft.
And don't have a coordinator that will actually use them. Yeah.
Just saying, Malik Nabers fills in that receiver position. I mean, are you going to try it out next year? Your receivers would be Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer, and Quentin Johnson. And I don't want to. No, I
mean you'd bring in a guy like Tyler Boyd too.
Sure. Okay. Man,
Nabers, I would be comfortable. I've seen
people so high on Nabers.
They should watch some Brock Bowers tape. I mean, we very rarely see tight ends that can do everything. And you look at the Greg Roman offense, right? They have to hope the Greg Roman thing works out. Having a tight end who can block, who can run fast, who can separate. I mean, he will blow up a defensive end on one play and then burn a linebacker on the next. There are very few guys like that in the NFL, and so having good tight ends.
In the Chargers should draft Brock Bowers camp right now?
I think they should strongly consider it.
Like, let's say it goes 3 quarterbacks, Marvin Harrison Jr. Right now, I put Robert Ziggy Ziegler on the clock for the Los Angeles Chargers.
I am more impressed by Brock Bowers than either of the wide receivers available.
Over Joe Alt, too?
Yeah. I've got some problems with Joe Alt. I get that he's a Notre Dame guy, and I respect him. And plus, you have left tackle locked up. It makes me a little bit less worried.
Okay. Look, I need to watch a little more tape on Bowers. I know that from what I've seen, dude looks unbelievable. But Chargers fans, they seem to really not want him, or a lot of them don't. So leave it if you're a Chargers fan listening. Let us know in the comments section what you would preferably do at 5 if it goes to 3 quarterbacks and Marvin Harrison Jr. like we're expecting. Who would you take as of February 20th right now?
I'm just saying Brock Bowers is going to run under a 4.5 at the Combine.
I'm looking forward to seeing some of the numbers that people put up there. It always amazes me how much things change.
It doesn't even match. Combine numbers don't even match up that well to NFL play.
No, I know.
But it's so much fun to watch some of the best athletes in the world just do athletic testing and be in awe of what these guys can do.
It is funny though. I'm trying to think of what did I just watch with someone doing his combine training. The numbers are just okay, but I can't remember who it was. I was watching something recently, but yeah, you see these guys go in the combine, and if they don't perform to a certain degree, it's like, oh man, they're gonna drop down the board. It's like, can we ever just draft players who are good at football?
This is what the Rams did that was so incredible, and why they keep hitting on guys in the late rounds. They said, who cares about 40 times? What we should care about is how fast they actually are on plays.
Oh, it was like Puka. I think it might have been Puka. There's a little video that came out with McVay in the war room on draft night. And it's crazy to me. I remember sitting back at a restaurant during the Tyrann Mathieu draft when he fell into round 3. Yeah, there were character concerns, but Tyrann Mathieu was up for the Heisman. Watch the guy play football. Clearly, he makes plays. It made no sense with the Vikings trading back and taking Lewis Seen instead of going for Kyle Hamilton when he was there. Like, draft guys who are good at football. It doesn't have to be that hard. That's what the Eagles did, and it led them to a Super Bowl run, basically. Like, you're good at football. Jalen Carter, draft the good football player. It makes no. I get so mad about this.
Before we go too far, I do want to say the must get and must keep for the Chargers. No, you're good. I've said his name a few times. I think a must get for them. You'd love to have T. Higgins, but T. Higgins is too expensive and he's not available.
Yep.
So take the next best Bengals receiver available in Tyler Boyd. He's one of those guys who's he's perennially underrated because he doesn't put up huge numbers because he's the wide receiver 3. But this is a guy who's a nice, solid, consistent receiver for Cincinnati. He doesn't get hurt very much. He plays hard. He catches the ball. Ask Chargers fans what they want in a receiver, and they will tell you the answer is basic competence. He will deliver you basic competence. And a player they must keep, not a guy who gets a lot of attention outside of Los Angeles, I think, but Gerald Everett is a pretty important player for this team. He's not the best tight end in the league or anything, but again, he catches the ball. He brings in a few touchdowns every year. He can block. There's always a few plays where he just breaks 3 or 4 tackles and goes for a long run. Like, this is just a nice, solid, productive weapon that you can get for cheap. And the Chargers need that as much as they can.
Gerald Everett is always the guy when you need someone on your waiver wire in fantasy that he's the top projected tight end of the week. Then you go, do I want to take him? And you look down and you're like, yeah, there's really no one else here. So I'm going to roll with Gerald Everett. And you hope that he has, one of his games where he puts up 60 yards and a touchdown. And generally speaking, though, he's a really good player.
Yeah, I mean, he's not putting up 1,000 yards, but he's good for 500 yards and a handful of touchdowns. That's not bad.
He's good to fill in. Yeah, he's a solid player. Okay, let's do a little bit of mailbag questions, and then we'll get out of here. So that was your AFC West sort of recap and preview. We're kind of just trying to touch on each of the teams. It helps us to get a better grasp of the teams that we may not have covered on as much over the past month and a half.
Oh, yeah, I mean, all I can say is this. If over the years, there have been a lot of reports that this is finally the year that the Chiefs are going down, right? We saw that after the Russell Wilson trade. We saw that going in this season with Justin Herbert and the Chargers. I don't know when the year of the Chiefs failing will be. I feel like it'll be like the Patriots and Brady, where there's one random year they go 11-5 and miss the playoffs. Otherwise, the Chargers are winning this division the Chiefs are winning this division for the next 15 years.
Their stranglehold has been absurd on that division. It's been for a long time, too, even going back to Alex Smith days.